Hey everyone, today is good old arm day and trap day, and I do a little rear delt work as well. I feel like I need to have a particular arm day and rear delt day just to help out with overall balance and symmetry of my body. When I step on stage, I tend to lose a lot of my arms and my rear delts as I'm doing the front and rear relax poses. And I know that sounds a little funny just because typically arms aren't necessarily a weak point for most, but for me I feel that gets drowned out by my other muscle groups within those poses. So starting off with the cable curls, and I do the from the bottom and then I go from the top, upper curls, upper cables, and I do a lot of drop sets, supersets, and just a lot of variations just to help target the different muscle groups that I'm hitting, and just to maximize volume as much as possible. And so I'm not necessarily lifting super heavy, but it may feel a little heavy. I go up to the 110s on each of these movements, and I drop down to about 70 to 80 pounds as I drop set. So moving on to the next exercise is I'm doing the tricep extensions just to get some blood flow into that muscle group. I feel like with the cable rope, this tends to help out with full range of motion, and just really on that bottom movement, just to help out with getting that outside tricep head, so that I can maximize my efforts into that area. Then as you see, I'm doing a drop set within this movement. So that's one thing to realize, is that when you're doing volume, rep ranges don't necessarily matter per se. It's really about what you're doing to put as much blood flow into that movement. And then I'm doing a overhead press, just to help out with getting some more of hitting that outer head of the tricep. And then you're going to see that I'm transitioning into a rear delt movement with the cables. This is something that I know my coach, during my contest prep, he noticed that I didn't necessarily have a lot of rear delt work, and so I wanted to start incorporating a lot more rear delt work, and just to help out with those teres major, teres minor, those muscle groups. As you start building up those muscle groups, you want to have overall balance. This is a great movement to help out with specifically hitting those little muscle groups in the back, specifically in the rear delt. And so I'm moving on to the next exercise. So I'm using the Smith machine now, and I'm doing 185 close grip, just to target the muscle group, that triceps. And don't get me wrong, you're going to feel in your chest a little bit, but I feel like this puts a lot more emphasis on the triceps. Plus, if I just do a movement on the bench press, free weight style, I don't feel like I'm getting the triceps to max potential. I feel like I'm incorporating a lot more muscle groups within that movement. So the Smith machine definitely helps allow more blood flow to that tricep and a lot more engaged muscle group. And then I go right into my shrugs. I love just using the barbell, using for shrugs. My grip just felt like terrible today, so I had to use the straps early on in the workout. But as you can see, I'm just doing some volume within this movement. I think I get close to 20 reps, if not 20, within this movement. But I drop set, a superset, and this is just going to help out with volume. And I think that's the key phrases. So now I'm doing some shrugs with the hammer strength facing the pad, and then later on I'll face against the pad. But I'm doing a good amount of weight here. My grip seems to be holding up pretty strong. I don't know why I was slipping on the barbell, and then I go right into some dumbbell curls, just to help out with that effort. And this way I'm not spending hours in the gym, but really targeting each muscle group. And by the time you're done with that other exercise that you're supersetting with, you should be good to go going right back into your other movement. I feel like you don't necessarily need a lot of rest when you're doing volume. Like I said, reps don't necessarily matter per se. It's really about what you're trying to do to target that specific muscle group to hit failure, so that within that particular movement. So if you only have a set range of reps and you don't feel like you failed, you've kind of ruined that set, I feel. So now I'm doing some weighted dips, and I felt this a little bit more in my chest, so I might have to adjust what that really feels like so I can get the right feel for the triceps. You're going to feel a lot of these movements with the chest because that's a big muscle group. It's gonna start engaging, but there are different techniques that you can do to help target that tricep. And then I'm doing some cable curls. I feel like this really helps out with the peak of the bicep and just really trying to put a lot of blood flow in there. And as you can see, I am looking a little fluffy here, but I feel like I'm definitely, embracing my building phase as much as possible, my 5th week into it, and just trying to really elevate my lifts as I'm increasing my macros. And now I'm doing single arm tricep extensions. This is another one just to help out with isolating one particular group at a time. And when you use both your hands on a particular movement like the triceps, you tend to have an imbalance sometimes, just because you don't necessarily have a good balance between which tricep is working harder than the other. So when you isolate it like this, you're not using another side of your body to counter that balance. So this tends to help out with doing that and maximizing your efforts. So I do a variety of using both hands, single arm movements. This way I know that I'm targeting that specific muscle group. And then I go transition right into preacher curls with the hammer strength. And I'm not just sitting on the machine. I feel like I get a lot more emphasis on the biceps as I'm more leaning towards the hammer strength machine. You can try it out, but this helps out without breaking your posture while you're doing this movement. You're not allowed to really cheat within this movement when you're kind of leaning into the machine. So it puts a lot more emphasis on the biceps. I feel that tends to help. But other than that, if you have any questions, please by all means leave them below. But thanks for watching. Bye bye.